with some of the things today, with the COVID money, the monies that we received for the COVID funding, there are specific things we can use that money for, can't use for. Actually, several of us, commissioners and our finance director and so on, will be attending meetings soon with other counties in a forum setting just like this to ask questions and actually get paperwork as to how the federal government, state government says you can spend the money. So this is quite a process to go through. And so today, what I did is I put this out there for this to be the first meeting that we'll be holding to discuss what we could do with COVID money and what we'll do for the county, for our county. Also too is that keep in mind that if we're going to do things for our county citizens, it would have to benefit theoretically all the set of citizens in the county. It isn't like we're going to do something different for each township or different for each city. It's more or less what would be a general thing that would help all the citizens of Shiawassee County, so on and so forth. That's one parameter. But just keep in mind, as we all know, the federal and state government changes the rules on a daily basis. So what might be true today may be different 1 year from now. So I'm here to take that. But anyway, I would like to have, let's see, let's get some of the, okay, Guy Hubbard. And you're the Fire Chiefs Association request.
Yes.
You want these timed?
No.
I'll do the best I can.
Yeah.
My name's Guy Hubbard.
He's already been told he should move.
Yeah, I know that. I've been practicing reading this, make sure you're done in 3 minutes. My name's Guy Hubbard. I'm the Chief Carrier of Fire Rescue, and I'm also the President of the Fire Chiefs Association in Shiawassee County. There's a few other chiefs here today in support of this. I gave each of you a copy of this letter. But we're requesting funding from the ARPA to purchase the equipment that's necessary for all 13 fire departments in Shiawassee County. A lot of us have outdated equipment that's past its shelf life, past its life where it can't be supported anymore, it can't be repaired anymore, but we're still using it because it's very expensive to do. It'll help all 250 firefighters in Shiawassee County. And the COVID-19 really hit us hard because of equipment we had to purchase, the manpower that we lost due to the COVID infection, and it caused a lot of overtime for staff, and also caused us the one that we could get a lot of extra work. One example would be a self-contained breathing apparatus, the pack we wear on our back when we go into a fire. Most of us have very, very old equipment. Those are about $8,000 a piece. And a department like mine, we have 24 of them. So you do the math and it's quite expensive. And again, those are one of the things that are outdated. Now, we don't only use those to go in and fight fire in a hazardous atmosphere. We use them for a hazardous atmosphere like a chemical release, to go in and rescue someone from a chemical release or a house fire or any kind of dangerous situation. It's required because we couldn't enter it without that equipment. And of course, we're down in staffing. What we do is we'll call the AMA, Automated Mutual Aid. If we have a structure fire in Perry, depending on where it is, Shiawassee Township will be dispatched automatically to help us. So they're there on fire. And then, well, there's a house fire in Durand not too long ago. I think there was like 6 fire departments there to assist them. If we have all different equipment, it's very difficult to do that for the training. But anyway, so our staffing numbers have gone down. The AMA, Automated Mutual Aid, has helped a lot with that. And we're requesting funding for firefighting equipment. That's what we're requesting for. Some of us need to replace the SCBAs, some of us have to have fill stations to fill those bottles. Yes, again, the SCBAs are $8,000 a piece. What we're requesting is that every fire department in Shiawassee County get $90,000, which would be $1.17 million out of the 13-something million that you're getting. It's less than 9% of the total funding. Again, this would help support all 250 firefighters in Shiawassee County, and every resident 70,000 plus would benefit from this equipment. We're talking about the entire county's fire district. So there isn't one person in Shiawassee County that wouldn't benefit from the equipment purchase or the money given. So you can see that every fire chief's listed on here, they've all approved it. They've all approved it, of course, you know, approved that I'm here tonight, or to read this letter and to attach a copy for each of you. Again, we understand that what we'd have to do is have some kind of presentation. If we're allotted the 90,000, we have to have a presentation for what we're gonna spend it on. We understand that individually. You're not gonna just write us a check for 90 grand and then we do whatever we want, because that would probably be breaking some of the laws that the feds may have. So, I know the equipment's is allowed. I think it's Delhi Township Fire in Ingham County got $1.5 million to buy a fire truck. Williamson Fire got $750,000, just that one fire department, for ambulance equipment, fire equipment, things like that.
And Guy, that was from the county commissioners.
Yes, that was from this money. The county commissioners approved that. Then they went individually by department. Now, I don't know if other departments in Ingham County are gonna ask for money. They got a lot more than Shiawassee County. They got somewhere near 33 million, I think. Ingham County did. And then Stockbridge Fire Department got 250,000. What we're doing is we've gotten together to request a certain amount of money so that everything's equal to every resident in the county. Now, the latter in Delhi Township, you know, it's only gonna assist certain fire departments, certain areas of that county. I'm not saying it's wrong. I just think that it's the right thing to do to ask for the money to benefit the whole county. So, that's all I have.
Any commissioners have any questions for Guy? Okay.
I like that it benefits the whole
Yes.
community equally.
Thanks, Guy.
Yep.
Judge Lestrade.
This reminds me a little bit of the 1970s when I was a prosecutor and federal government handed out CETA money. Told Shiawassee County, I don't remember, there's enough to go around there. Shiawassee County, I think, was given $2 or $3 million and said, tell us how you want to spend it, and within 14 days or else I forfeit it. Anyway, I'm here to speak on behalf of the courthouse, the old courthouse. And I'm passing around a letter that Kay Seward, who was the former Register of Deeds when she wrote it in 1998, was talking about the process, the procedure that we went through in restoring and preserving the courthouse. The courthouse restoration took about $3.5 million, the majority of which was raised through fundraising. And as many of you will recall, George Hottie, who the likes of whom comes around maybe once every 100 years, led our fundraising effort. And following the completion of the courthouse, or really before the completion of the courthouse, we formed a statutory building authority to raise another $1 million to finish the interior. Those bonds were paid off, I think, by the early 90s, and not the early 90s, excuse me, by around 2001 or 2002. And prior to that time, after the restoration of the courthouse was appraised at over $10 million. So today, 20 years after that appraisal, I'm sure it's even appraised at a much higher amount. What I have, and commissioners, I think, were given a copy of this back in the mid-90s that George Hottie prepared, entitled Care and Maintenance of Old Courthouse. He left a copy with the commissioners, he left a copy with Buildings and Grounds, and he left a copy, I think, with the county clerk, who at that time would be John Pytosh. And in this book, George, having a civil engineering background, went through every item, interior, exterior, that needed to be kept up in order to fulfill our promise to the donors that this building should be good at least another 100 years from 1991 forward. 1991 when we had the rededication. So that's what I am here today, is to ask that the commissioners set aside, as was requested in the presentation by the building authority in the early 90s, that the commissioners set aside a fund, and that fund be utilized only for the upkeep, the care, the maintenance of the old courthouse. It's unique in this county because I believe it's the only facility that the county has that was restored through privately collected contributions. We decided, the restoration committee, when we got into that we're not going to go over village. We decided that the other alternatives, knocking down the building, turning it into a museum, building another building, were all going to be very, very much more expensive. So I'm here today to ask that the commissioners not, and this book should be available, and if not, I will make copies because Mr. Hadi was very, very specific in terms of the needs of the building. I'm told by Judge Stewart on Monday that he had a flow of water coming into his office that ruined some things that he had on the wall. And if that's an indication of what's going on today, then there's a lack of maintenance that would be the problem. Cleaning out the eaves, those types of things that would cause backdraft of water in the building. So what I'm asking the board to do is to set aside a fund which cannot be rated, cannot be used for anything else, cannot be borrowed from, and that there be a commission that the board create, including some of the elected officials and citizens at large, that will be in charge of, from time to time, saying, all right, there's a need, here's a distribution. I would suggest between $2 to $3 million be set aside in an interest-bearing account that the treasurer could oversee, and that building, which is a historic monument on the register, by the way, so that we can preserve it for generations to come, which was the intent when the Restoration Committee and Mr. George, as they called him, Mr. George Hadi, led the fundraising efforts throughout the county. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. I'll date myself, I was here for all that at one time, yes.
You're on the plaque that shows you were one of the contributors also.
Yes. Okay, Casey Glass. Casey.
Hello, I'm Casey Glass, supervisor on the board for Burns Township. And I just want to come in today and talk a little bit about, we're currently looking into putting broadband service into our township. 85% of the residents live outside of the village. The village has cable, and they get the internet service like they should. Most of the people in the rural areas have alternate internet packages from AT&T and Visalate. And I'm not, I study Burns Township, but this is probably a county-wide issue. You know, after the COVID, kids had to stay at home, workers had to stay at home, and, you know, and the families running their pay the bills business from home. And out in these rural areas, they couldn't get the signal to everybody be on the computer at the same time. It's very important, even for the future, if this happens again, that we have that stuff prepared for the kids' education, really. They're losing ground if they can't receive all the benefits of, you know, getting all the schooling piped into their house while their parents are working from home. You know, I've got a lot of stuff. I don't really have a figure on this. We currently got a price for $2.5 million to install fiber optic cable in Burns Township. I've contacted a few other townships. I don't think anybody's any worse shape than we are, but everybody needs some help in the rural area. And I really don't think there's a bigger positive impact on the residents of this county than ensuring the kids can get all the education they need. And, you know, people working from home, which feeds our county, you know, the economic, you know, they spend their money here. And I just wanted to start the process. I don't, you know, have any value amount. And I just think it's something really to consider, the broadband for the entire county and the rural areas, so we can keep up with places that have the cable and good service.
Any questions for Casey? I know that when he and I talked on the phone, $2.5 million is just for one township. It's a chunk of change.
Yeah, and it's, I talked to them about getting the prices reduced and all this, and there's really no leeway in that, and, you know, I think the townships need help with the funding of that, that's just, astronomical amount of money, and then, you know, the people are gonna have to pay a monthly fee just to be hooked up to it. You know, so, something to consider, I appreciate your time and allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Casey.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
I was at the Burns Township meeting with Casey Glass, and I listened to the presentation. And so I can't believe a private enterprise like the cable companies are referring to would want you, the government, to use your tax dollar to spend $2.5 million while they get all the billing of signing up the people. If it was such a good deal then, they would be paying $2.5 million to get the thing. But you're paying for their lines and they get the revenue.
No one said that we're paying for the lines.
Oh yeah, that's what he's talking about. $2 million that the cable companies wants to string lines. And then they get the revenue and you pay the bill.
That wasn't really mentioned that way.
That's the way, I was at the meeting. I know it was mentioned. He got it.
I was not there.
Yeah, I was there.
Okay.
Ask Mr. Glass and everything. They want you to pay for,
Well,
the lines.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's something to know. COVID money can be used for broadband.
That's right.
Yeah. So it is one of those things.
But $2.5 million
I know it's expensive.
to enrich somebody else's checkbook and everything is a poor waste of COVID money.
Yes, yes. Oh, could be. Sue Hammond, Mayor of Perry.
Hi, I'm Sue Hammond, Mayor of the City of Perry, here to talk about two projects, both related to drinking water and our infrastructure for drinking water. One project is for the City of Perry, and that is for the refurbishment of our existing water tower, which is a project that's already been approved by council, and monies have been determined from our award of what we call COVID money. Our entire $218,000 has been approved by our council to be used toward that water tower project. However, it's a $350,000 project. So if council, or the commissioners would consider augmenting that, if that can't be done, we'll have to take out a loan for the rest of that money. The other project is one that involves both the City of Perry and surrounding Perry Township. We've been approached by the township to run an extension of our existing city water lines out into the township to enable the industrial park area where there are some bigger businesses there who would like to have access to pressurized water for fire suppression, and right now they only have access to water from their own private wells. So we had an opportunity last fall for an 80-20 grant. We applied for that grant, but they ran out of money before they got to our application. So we're working with the SEDP, redoing that grant, updating that grant, and we'll submit again because that money has come back on the table. It won't be approved for funding until September of 2022. They'll select the award winners, those who will receive grants, by the end of March of 2022. So we're asking if the commissioners would work with both the city and the township to help us fund this project. It is a total of 500, let me get my numbers in front of me. There we go. $5,957,000. The city and township have currently committed, both the board and the council have committed to 8% of that. The grant funding is an 80% grant. There could possibly be other monies coming from the Michigan EDA and from the CDBG, but they haven't made any commitment toward that yet. So we have right now a shortfall of $714,840. And obviously, if we don't get the grant, we can't do the project anyway, unless the commissioners wanted to just step right up there and put $5,957,000. So that is that project, and if anybody has any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. The Perry Township Supervisor, Mark, is here. If the question I don't have the answer to, he might.
What's the I'm sorry,
Yeah, go ahead.
what's the earliest you would know about whether the grant and other funding and? that
March
stuff?
31st of 2022.
Any other questions for Sue? Again, this is water projects, like sanitary drains, drains, water systems, water towers, sewer systems. That's all, those are things that can be funded with COVID monies. And again, infrastructure, big emphasis in all these monies is on infrastructure. So we're looking for things that'll be really beneficial in the future. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And with Sue,
Yes.
Mark Fox, would you, because you're from Perry Township, and I know that you're piggybacking on the same.
Thank you, John. Gary.
Thanks.
This is a letter from Brett Jones, Economic Development. Of course, this is the law, saying we can use it for that, you know. Water. This from the Township Association, MTA. Thank you, Mark. Bear with me, I retired from the city of Flint. I know you gotta have a lot of documentation. Here's a picture of the water. Now it's gonna go near the barber shop in Perry on Old Lansing Road. It'll go all the way to Bennett Drive, it'll go down Bennett Drive, it'll go right to the high school, tie into the high school. So the high school won't have that dead water, it'll be a continuous loop. That'll help. The water tower will be near the barber shop. That'll be a 200,000 gallon tank, just like the one they have in town. That will help the growth because they're basically limited on the expansion that the city of Perry may have. So that'll also take care of fire suppression that the businesses would like to have. And then the preliminary engineering firm that I've dealt with for years, Hubble Roth and Clark, down in Detroit, did, the city and I shared the expenses, about $3,000 for this study. I just put the pertinent details on it, the cost. Basically, it's $5.9 million, but 10% of that is contingency, so, and then there's also 10% for engineering. So I have a feeling that some of that is a little over. And that's all I'm going to hand out. Karen, you got a copy, right?
I did.
Okay. So I just want to reiterate what Sue said. The EDA grant was submitted last year. It's a pretty thick packet. And it was dealt with. And so it's at that time it was an 80-20, but the NDDC was going to pitch in 10%. So we only had to come up with 10%. 10% of 600,000, we could do 400,000, and you're going to do the rest. We basically had it covered, so we didn't need the help. But we don't have the other 10%. So that's where we need your $500,000.
Consideration.
Okay? Not as much as Guy wants. Not as much as the broadband wants. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. But the great thing is growth along the economic development, which is your signature board all the way to Joe Audia, all the way to Rose Boulevard. So we need your help.
Great.
And the money can be used for that. That's it.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Hey, yes, sir.
Just a couple of years ago, this county commission declared nothing has been done to Morris Road up until right by the school football field to Lansing Road.
Consumers Energy did that.
Yes, I understand they did that.
Sure.
But this county commission said they would help Perry Township with Morris Road as it being a county road, and has not taken any steps for that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've only been a supervisor for 2 years.
That would be the road commission.
That's a road
Yeah,
commission.
yeah, I just don't know. Any other questions?
That's part of infrastructure.
Questions?
Infrastructure.
Good. Okay.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay.
thanks.
Okay,
First road in town.
let's have Anthony Carroll.
Okay, after listening to some of the presentations, those are good presentations. I still would believe that it'd be best if this board would develop a committee, just like they have other committees for the Veterans Affairs, you name it, we have a half dozen or so committees in this county that hear these kind of requests and come up with a well-designed plan of action on how to spend funds. And then they bring those requests to you as board members, not wasting time hearing all the presentations. We present those to you. Mr. Verdor made the comment, I don't see that public trust is gained by hiding behind a committee where no one knows members, how they were picked, or anything else. The way to gain public trust, as I said, is when I was elected as chair, was handed this in an open way based on professionalism, not personality, Verdor said. Well, last meeting, Mr. Plowman said that Verdor himself and Plowman and Boggs met to discuss funding for middle management, but no one else was incorporated into that meeting. You know, we hear all these different suggestions and recommendations, and I really feel that the commissioners need to step aside and set another committee aside, a committee to evaluate these requests. Like Mr. Marks presented the rules on what needs to be done. You guys shouldn't be bothered with that. Let the committee do that, and then we present to you what we feel is in the best interest of the county. You guys either vote yes or no on it, and that's how it goes. I mean, it makes your jobs a lot easier. But to say that you're hiding behind a committee is ridiculous, Mr. Verdor.
Point of order, John, we're not gonna have personal attacks here, please.
No, it's not, it's just a public statement that, it was made at a, open forum meeting.
interact and acting here or not?
We can have a conversation. That's.
I don't wanna shut down.
No, this is open
Chair, I don't
for
wanna.
COVID monies.
Yep.
If you wanna talk again at the next meeting.
Well, but, I just feel that setting up a committee would be appropriate to help everybody out and be more transparent in the community. That way those committee meetings are open to everybody, and there'll be more room for people to attend without fear of being exposed to COVID-19.
Thank you, Tony. Okay, Jeffrey.
How you doing there?
Good.
I'm not gonna stand up because my standing ability is somewhat limited. I'm basically here to do Jeremy Root's job, to lobby for some money for the village of Byron, which has, as far as any other municipality in Shiawassee County, we have 2 dams that are holding back 7.5 feet of water. One is leaking badly, and no type of maintenance has been put into those dams since the early 50s. Approximately 10 years ago, they said it would, to fix both dams to current standards would be about $750,000. Okay, the village of Byron doesn't have $750,000, and as long as those people up to the dams up there, Sanford and Shiawassee up there, they got $15 million just to plow the weeds under. So I know there's plenty of money floating around and everything to fix the dams. Next thing is the village of Byron's municipal water system is supplied by 2 8-inch wells. We have 1 tower and 2 8-inch wells. The casing cracked on one of the 8-inch wells because it hasn't been, it's a well from the 1940s, and it's gonna cost $150,000 to replace that well, which right now, the well drilling company can't get 8-inch well casing. Okay, so we're basically using that existing 8-inch well, and then we're using it to depth. That well drilling project's about $150,000. So basically, all the other needs are really nice and everything, but we got 2 dams that are holding back 7.5 foot of water, and if those dams go and everything, Bancroft, Corunna, and Owasso are gonna get 7.5 foot of a tidal wave coming down. So basically, like I say, I'm here, if Mr. Root and everything would have had any type of...
Point of order, once again, we're not gonna have
I'm
personal
representing the
attacks here.
District 5 with Jeremy Root's not here. Point of order, well taken.
Enough.
He doesn't know about these
Enough.
needs.
Hey,
Yeah.
Jeff, I mean,
I know.
you got your 2 points.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Laura Archer.
I'm Laura Archer, CEO of the Shiawassee Family YMCA, and I'm here to propose a partnership between the Shiawassee Family YMCA and the county. We are located in Owasso, as many of you may know, but we have a presence in Durand with our before and after school program, and also a huge presence on 182 acres in Bancroft where we have our Camp Shiawassee. So we really do service the entire county, although we may be located in Owasso. So we've had a partnership with the county for many decades, whether it's through corporate memberships, through different projects that we work on with the health department, even most recently with the jail garden, helping feed people with the produce that they're able to harvest out of the garden. So we are here to propose a conversation, start that conversation to talk about how collectively we can help address some of the needs that we're aware of for citizens here in our county. In 2019 and into 2020, the Shiawassee Family YMCA conducted a community needs assessment, and through that process with YUSA, who's our mothership, we conducted a community needs assessment throughout the entire county. We received enough surveys, and they are from all different corners of the county, that it really is representative statistically of some of the needs that are throughout the entire county. So what did we learn? We learned that we have a large population of people who live in poverty, high number of kids on Medicaid, and we have families who are going hungry. And during COVID, the Shiawassee Family YMCA was one of the nonprofits who stepped in to help make sure that families who needed food were able to get it through our partnership with the Greater Lansing Food Bank. In addition, we know that we have an older than average population, with the 74-year-olds and older growing in population. By the year 2024, it's supposed to be even larger than it is now. So we have an aged population that needs a place to gather, they need a place to learn, and they need a place to work on being healthy if they choose to be. Also, county residents, both young and old, want a safe place to gather. We know that's especially true in certain areas in the county with our youth. And so what I'm here today to talk about is really partnering with you, using some of the ARPA funding to be able to help the YMCA become the community center that we so desperately need here in the county. The other missing piece of that is that through conversations with key stakeholders here in the county, the RESD, the SEDP, the Chambers of Commerce, large corporations and manufacturing firms, as well as our other nonprofits and school district partners, we know that there's a huge need for quality child care here in the county. In early 2020, KinderCare was contracted to conduct a community needs assessment on child care, and the YMCA is in the process of taking that one step further to do a feasibility study, so we can get to the point of doing a pro forma, so I could actually have a price tag to share on what it would cost to expand our current footprint at 515 West Main, to try to address some of these concerns and needs, but especially the child care need here in our county. So I'm really here on behalf to say we're ready to start that conversation. If we were to partner with a municipality like a county, we would also have access to other funding streams, especially federal funding streams, that would help support our efforts to really build a quality, affordable, innovative child care center. In that process, we could also do the renovations that are necessary in our facility to ensure that as our population continues to age, that we've got everything that would be needed for them to come to our building to participate in our evidence-based health interventions and other types of activities. Over the last 4 years, the YMCA has worked really hard to become a community hub to really try to get our fingers on the pulse of some of the needs in our community. And during COVID, we really reconnected with our mission and found some ways to really help support those most in need in our community. And now's the time to take us beyond just being that community hub to the next level, to really be a community center, but we can't do it alone. You know, we're a small nonprofit here in the county that serves the whole county, and some of the ARPA funding could really help us have a greater impact. So I'm here to propose that partnership. Again, we're at a key location in terms of serving individuals here in the county. We're just off the intersection of M21 and M52, two of the most well-traveled roads. And again, I know you know some of those statistics. So we really are a prime location to try to help address the need where parents could know that their kids were in a safe location, and where all individuals, whether they're youth or our active older adults, could have ready, easy access to a community center where they could participate in activities that would be meaningful and help them have a higher quality of life. So if you're interested in using some of these funds to help impact all of the citizens here in our community through helping us become that community center, and again, especially developing a child care center, I just wanted you to know today in a formal way that I'm really here to begin having that conversation, and I have complete support of our board of directors, and also have other funding partners that would be interested in being included in that conversation. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions? Thank you, Lauren.
You're welcome.
Oh, we have a question to Gary.
Oh, I'm sorry, Gary.
Yeah, I'm on the senior citizen board, and we help all the seniors, and we have 3 centers in the county, so 99% of those are taken care of with all their help.
Well, and actually, we've been talking with SCOA about participating with them and expanding the small partnership that we have to be able to do some satellite work in those 3 different centers. So yes, I mean, they are a key part in helping with our elderly here in the county. So thank you for pointing that out. So anything else?
Thanks again.
Okay.
Okay, Matt Shepard.
I just have one quick question. It's great that municipalities are here to request funding, but why is it that the ones that truly suffered, small businesses and residents across this county, have not been mentioned for assistance when that is issued in the law of the American Rescue Plan Act?
Thanks, Matt. Tom Cook.
Afternoon, I'm here as a resident of Rush Township, but I did my little stint on the Owasso City Council, so I feel for you in a really difficult spot of being a local elected official. I know a lot of competing demands and restrictions on what you can and can't do, so I'm sympathetic to that. I think a lot of people think that making grants, making investments is an easy activity. It is not an easy activity. So I applaud you for starting that process. I think trying to set some goals and then looking for best ways to meet those goals would be a good way to do it, as well as to look for ways to leverage those funds, trying to find to make the most out of those funds. In my day job, I've had the good fortune to work with the nonprofits in Shiawassee County. We have over 20 nonprofits that are locally based, local boards of directors, local staff. They're also employers, just like small businesses. Like small businesses, they have struggled over this last COVID period. We're fortunate that many of them have made it through this time period, and I would urge you to think about them as potential partners for their funding sources. We know that they're effective at using funds. We commissioned a report. I hope everybody got one, but I brought copies for everybody, at least the summary of it. We did this report before the whole ARPA funds came out, where we worked with the 20-some nonprofits in Shiawassee County that went through COVID to say, what lessons did we learn through that experience, and what can we take from that? And a couple of those lessons were that we have needs that we don't fully recognize. We saw the food insecurity become really significant We saw transportation issues become really key for a lot of people that lack transportation. And even though SADA's done a good job, it's limited in what it can do. And then we saw technology limitation needs. All those things have been mentioned here today, but in talking with our nonprofits, they all identified those things as well. We also learned that how our nonprofits were very creative and flexible and made good use of funds. They worked really closely with the county, and a shout out to the County Emergency Center and Jody Dufresne in particular. I know that I worked with her, and many of our nonprofits worked with the county during COVID, and it was an impressive thing. One of the things we learned from that was the benefit of communication and collaboration, and I would urge that kind of partnerships again. Again, I just don't, I hope that you do not overlook our nonprofits as really effective partners, as an efficient and effective way to address needs or help achieve whatever goals that you might set. And I'm personally happy to assist the county commissioners in any way I can with that process. So thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Any questions? Okay. Thanks, Tom.
You bet.
Tom Mankey.
Well, I just want to say thank you. I want to thank this board for stepping up and having these meetings, and I understand you're going to be having more meetings, and I think our residents really appreciate that. At least that's what I am seeing. I'm going to please ask you to weigh out all requests for funds, and please spend the money on what helps the most amount of people in the county. So a person that lives in rural Woodhull in downtown Owasso, in Hazelton or in Burns, all gets the same benefit of this money. I hear there's certain areas that need more money, and that's good, and I hope you take a look at those things. I also want to voice my support for my district rep to take care of deciding where this money is going to go. I voted, as the rest of the constituents in my township, for a representative, not a committee, to come to you with how to spend this money. I want my representative, who's voted on, same as with you who were voted on, to decide. The problem with a committee, if you have a committee, who's going to appoint those committee people? I prefer that the buck stops right here at these desks, right here at your name thing. So as Mr. Rideau had said, there is no pushing back on, it's their fault. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Tom. That's all the slips I have. Would anybody else like to speak? Yes. We got a few minutes here, so then we're going to call it. And then again, we'll be having meetings in the future. And again, we're starting the state through the federal are starting to have meetings for government officials and how to spend the money correctly and so on. So, okay.
Carrie.
Is it Carney?
Carrie.
Carrie, excuse me.
Hi. I am the board chair for the Shiawassee Humane Society.
Say that again, something interrupted you.
I'm the board chair for the Shiawassee Humane Society. I just wanted to make a request that you, like Tom Cook said, keep nonprofits in mind, preferably giving them some sort of application process to apply, for some of the funds. I know personally, our nonprofit would like to. We have a building renovation coming up, and this could go a long way to helping us be able to expand our reach into more of the county. So, thank you.
And presently, we do have an association with the Humane
You
Society.
do?
Yes. Okay, anyone else? With that, our regular meeting will start at 5 o'clock. Thanks for everyone coming today.